Hello and welcome to Trial TV Live. I am the Squeegee of Justice. Thank you so much for joining us today as we are going to put the final touches. We're going to wrap this trial up. Wisconsin versus Matthew Pahl. It is his sentencing. He is going to be sentenced today. Let me just make sure. Here we go. TV Live. All right. So thank you guys for joining us. Jennifer King, this music reminds you of The Undertaker. Hey, Mallory, good to see you. Sharon, Widespread Panic, hello, hello. Christine and Cindy, good to see you guys. Paula, Amy, hello, welcome in. Denny Dawn, good to see you. And Linda, love the music, good. Glad you guys like it. That's all Aaron. Aaron picks out the music for our trials. And for those that are members, you can go to our channel and find, if you like a particular, well, just go to our channel and look at the trials. We have a playlist for soundtracks. So if you like, just go and check out the songs for the trials. So glad you guys are liking that. Short Life, good to see you. Queen Olive Ruth Ann, thank you for joining us. Lori and Selena, Missy. I keep looking around to see if my husband is going to jump out and scare me like normal. Gretchen, your call ended just in time. Fantastic. All right. P. Cooper, good to see you. It's as far back as I can go. Beginner Crafter, good evening from Poland. Thank you for joining us. Virtuous Judah, good to see you as well. Rhonda. Kathy Davis, I miss seeing the Crypt Keeper. All right. Auntie Birdie, let's get to it. We have a sentencing to get to. All right. And for those that need a refresher, so let's see. Mr. Pahl here was found guilty. What day was that? Hold on a sec. Let me get my notes. I think it was the 3rd, right? Was it the 3rd? Let me get my notes here. Matthew Pahl was found guilty on the 3rd. It was 1 hour and 15 minutes. 1 hour and 15 minutes. After 24 witnesses for the state and 3, including, no, he did not. He did not take the stand. I was going to say including him, but he did not take the stand. 3 witnesses for the defense, 24 for the state. Hour and 15 minutes. Jury came back and found him guilty on count 1, intentional homicide. Count 2, hiding a corpse. And that was it. He was found guilty. All right, so let's get to the sentencing.
I'll call the matter, State of Wisconsin versus Matthew Pahl. This is 23 CF 1438. Let's have appearances, please.
Trixie Gordon for the state, along with Sue Opper.
Attorney Galaviz here with Attorney Wolff. Sitting here to our right is our client, Mr. Pahl, in custody. Good afternoon, Judge.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. The matter is here for sentencing today. Has the state complied with victim notification requirement, ma'am?
Yes, Judge, the victims are just coming into court now. All of the victims are going to be present in person, not by Zoom.
Okay, and to your knowledge, do any of them wish to make a statement today?
I have a written statement from Miss Layla, who would like this. I will be reading her statement for her, but none of the other family members wish to make a statement to the court.
Okay. From the state's perspective, is there anything we need to take up before we start with sentencing?
I do have a restitution figure.
How about the PSI?
For that.
All right, and have you shared that with the defense?
Okay. Yes, we have shared that with the defense.
All right, and what is the amount?
$8,309, and that is for the cost of funeral expenses.
Okay. And is there a dispute as to that amount?
I've never seen this.
Okay, that's fine. We can talk to your client about it later on, and I can set a hearing if we need to do that, okay? Anything else other than that, Ms. Gordon?
No, Judge, I believe all the victims are in the courtroom now.
Okay. Mr. Galaviz, anything before we start, sir?
Apparently, Mr. Pahl is discussed something about PSI that he wants to put on the tape, on the record. I think,
What's going on, Mr. Galaviz? You're the lawyer. You tell me. You can talk to your client, but let me know. please.
What do you think?
Let's go, let's finish.
What?
Let's finish this.
Finish it with what?
Mr. Wolff, Mr. Galaviz?
Judge, I don't think Mr. Pahl knows what he wants to do with the PSIs, so I think we've advised him not to request a PSI.
All right. My intent is to move forward today. All right. Anything else, Mr. Galaviz?
No, sir.
All right, there's a couple of things that I have to take up first and foremost because, Mr. Pahl, you've been convicted of a felony offense. You may not vote in any election until your civil rights are restored, and because you've been convicted of a felony, it is unlawful for you to possess a firearm. If you ever possess a firearm, you could be found guilty of a serious offense resulting in up to a 10-year term of imprisonment and a $25,000 fine or both. And because you've been convicted of a violent felony, it is unlawful for you to possess body armor. Those are admonitions that are required by law that I have to advise. All right, state's ready to move forward?
Yes, Judge.
All right, let's go.
Thank you, Judge. The state is making a recommendation of life without the possibility of parole. As the court knows, on count 1, having been found guilty, the court can make 3 determinations. First, determine if the defendant is eligible for parole after 20 years. 2, by some other date, or 3rd, not eligible at all. And the state is making the 3rd request that the court find the defendant not eligible for parole.
Extended supervision.
Sorry, correct. Yes, thank you. On count 2, a Class F felony, the state is asking for the maximum sentence consecutive to the life without possibility of extended supervision. We have consulted with the victims. The victims are in agreement with this. Judge, you've heard all of the evidence, and I think the only thing the court hasn't heard is about Mr. Pahl's prior record. He has a 2005 conviction for resisting or obstructing, and he has a 1989 conviction for 3 counts of delivery of cocaine. He was sentenced to 15 years of prison in 1989, and he was in and out of prison for a number of probation or parole violations during that time. He had also been charged with physical abuse of a child. Him and Ms. Pavlons were both charged with physical abuse of a child related to Layla. That was ultimately dismissed as part of an agreement with the state. He also had a 2012 charge for possession of controlled substance along with that incident. But most importantly, in 1993, he was investigated for first-degree intentional homicide. He was ultimately never charged. That was in Milwaukee, and as part of this investigation, the state reviewed those police reports to determine know a little bit more about Mr. Pahl, but also, as the court may remember, the state had sought to introduce some evidence from Tanya Bean, which was Mr. Pahl's ex-girlfriend, as part of other acts evidence, and ultimately the court found that that was too remote in time. But I think that this investigation that Milwaukee completed with Mr. Pahl as the prime suspect just shows the violence that the defendant has had for his entire life. And the gist of that case was that Mr. Pahl and Miss Bean were dating. Miss Bean had a bit of a controlled substance problem, and the person that was ultimately killed was Miss Bean's drug dealer. And there was a dispute about whether Miss Bean was cheating on Mr. Pahl with the drug dealer, and there was not enough evidence to charge Mr. Pahl with first-degree intentional homicide, but he was ultimately referred over to the Milwaukee DA's office, and he was the only suspect in that case. Here, Judge, we have a long history of domestic violence, and as the court knows, even though it was not admitted at trial, there's a history of domestic violence going back even to Tanya Bean, the girlfriend Mr. Pahl had prior to Ms. Pavlons, and the history continued for Ms. Pavlons' entire dating history with Mr. Pahl. And as the court knows, more than even what the jury knows, because there was a lot of other acts evidence that the state presented to the court that was ultimately maybe not admitted to the jury for different reasons. But I think it shows that Mr. Pahl is a violent and abusive man. He is the epitome of domestic violence. And as I made my arguments and closing arguments, it's very clear that on August 23rd of 2022, Mr. Pahl was met with the decision: either let Ms. Pavlons leave him or take action into his own hands. And he took action into his own hands that day. He was not going to allow Ms. Pavlons to walk away from this relationship, even though he maybe didn't want to be with her, even though he wanted to go to the Philippines. I think that he is absolutely a danger to the public. He's absolutely a danger to any woman he would ever become in a relationship with in the future, which is why I'm asking that the court not make him eligible for extended supervision, because I do think that there's just absolutely no question in my mind, based on his conduct in this case, that he cannot be in the community in the future. I'm asking that the court sentence the defendant to a consecutive sentence on the hiding a corpse, because I think that charge makes this case all the more aggravated. Ms. Pavlons decomposed in the woods for 17 days. There was evidence of significant insect activity over those 17 days, and ultimately her demise became very difficult for the state to prove the cause of death, the manner of death, because of the actions of hiding her body in that wooded area. And clearly the jury found very quickly that not only did Mr. Pahl kill Ms. Pavlons, but he also hid her body. He put it in a place where no one was going to find it. And that place was really almost in plain sight, right? There's a lot of people that come and go from that area, but for 17 days, no one found Ms. Pavlons. I believe that that charge is very aggravated. That aggravates this whole situation and certainly changed the amount of evidence the state was able to find forensically on Ms. Pavlons' body at the time of her autopsy. That contributed obviously to the state needing to have a forensic entomologist, a forensic anthropologist, just to determine what happened to Ms. Pavlons. I do have a statement from Ms. Layla Pavlons that I would like to read. She says, "She was my mother. She was a daughter. A 22-year-old woman should not be going through losing a mother at 44, and my grandparents should not be going through losing their second child. I could see you hurt her. I do not know why she would tolerate your abuse, and I might never know why. What kind of sick monster would do that to an innocent woman that spent her life with you, cared for you, and was there for you when she could be? You have no soul. You killed the one person that made me happy and was there for me at times I needed her. The one mother, the one daughter of my grandparents is gone. I feel like it was on me to push her harder to leave you. Our family should not be going through this pain that you have caused, and it can't be undone. A man that hits and abuses an innocent woman is not a man, but a weak, sick-minded individual. A woman that had a daughter died because of you. She was in pain. I could see it by the way she talked about you. I could see it when I visited. You took an innocent woman's life and hurt so many people. I hope you rot in jail." I think the pain that Layla Pavlons and the Pavlons family feels of the actions of the defendant is so real. And Layla's right. A woman was taken much too early. She lost her life. Her daughter lost her mother, and her parents lost their daughter. It's an unimaginable situation for Layla to be sitting here in court today on the sentencing of her father for killing her mother. Two people that should love each other, should love and protect her, have now placed her in this very terrible position. Mr. Pahl doesn't even really accept his sense of being a father to Layla. They'd had no contact in years, and you saw those texts to those women. He called Layla his niece rather than saying that that's his daughter. Mr. Pahl did terrible things to his family, but most of all, he did terrible things to Stephanie. And I believe that he should sit in prison for the rest of his life and have to think about what he did and what he's done to Ms. Pavlons' family, because that will never, no amount of jail time, no amount of prison time will bring her back, but there will be some justice for Stephanie. So, Judge, I am asking that you run those sentences consecutive to one another. As the evidence showed, this was a circumstantial case, but one that clearly the jury felt was overwhelming, that within an hour they were able to come to the decision that Mr. Pahl was absolutely the person that killed Stephanie Pavlons, that he had made her life miserable for years, and that he then hid her body. Mr. and Mrs. Pavlons are asking for $8,309 in restitution for funeral costs. So we are asking that that come out of Mr. Pahl's prison wages in the future. And I just want to check with the family and make sure that they don't want to make any statements.
All right, go ahead.
Anyone else? Okay. In speaking with Mr. and Mrs. Pavlons through the course of this investigation, it took a long time to bring Mr. Pahl to charges and ultimately for him to be sentenced here today. I know that they feel a great sense of relief that this is over, but also that they have lost something so precious to them, and they were hearing for the first time in court some of these horrible acts of domestic violence that were occurring to Stephanie, and that loss will never be undone. Thank you, Judge.
All right, thank you. I calculated 792 days credit. He was taken into custody September 19th of 2023.
September 18th of 2023.
Anyway, you can calculate that as well. Mr. Galaviz, Mr. Wolff.
Judge, I'll accept the court's number of 792 as
Right.
credit. As far as sentencing, given the state's theory in this case in the rebuttal, this was not a first-degree intentional homicide. If you follow their theory, this was at best a first-degree reckless homicide or a felony murder, not first-degree intentional. So I think that's an issue for appellate purposes. Also, given their theory, I made a mistake by never testing that purse. Never in my wildest dream did I think the state was going to argue that Miss Pavlons was strangled with the chain of the purse. That didn't even make sense to me when she was making that argument. And then he threw the purse in the car, and that's why the dog hit on the car. I'm not sure why the jury accepted that at all. It didn't make sense to me at all. So I made a mistake in this case by never testing that purse. Had I known that was going to be their theory, I don't think they knew at all that was going to be their theory until sometime during their case in chief or while we were presenting their defense. But that's going to be an appellate issue. As far as the court considering the Bean incident, I don't think you can, Judge. I mean, if the Milwaukee Police Department and the DA's office believe that they didn't have probable cause to even charge Mr. Pahl, which is a low burden, sentencing courts have indicated that the court shouldn't consider that if it's not even a probable cause. But ultimately, you are the gatekeeper in this case. As far as Mr. Pahl being a father, how he was as a father, I guess it goes to his character, but there's a lot of unfit fathers in this world. As the court has run into many of them who sit at this table as defendants. Mr. Pahl, I'm not sure what to say. He's still claiming his innocence. Given the position of the state in its argument at closing and the issues that it's raised on appeal, as far as my negligence of not testing that purse, I'm hoping that the court gives the defendant a mandatory minimum. Other than that, I have nothing else to say. Mr. Pahl may wish to give a statement. I'll leave it up to him.
All right, Mr. Pahl, do you wish to make a statement, sir?
Of course I'm going to make a statement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
First, I just want to correct some of the puke coming out of Gordon's mouth. Whatever this 2012, I mean, this is how this stuff starts, this fabrication, these wild stories, wild imagination. I was never charged with any possession in 2012. I believe that was Stephanie. In this 93 police report, I read that there were many suspects in there, and I had nothing to do with anything that happened down there. I didn't commit any murder in Milwaukee. And this stuff about being a parent, I was only a parent till Layla was about 9 years old. I was never given a chance to be a parent after that age because of all the goofy stuff that was happening here in court with the chips and custody and all that. And one of the state doctors that was prescribing Layla medication ended up losing his license because he was over-prescribing to minors. I think that's one of the reasons why Layla was on so much medication when she was younger. He was never charged, but he lost his license. His name was Dr. Ronald Rubin. I mean, you can look into that, and that was one of the people that actually made decisions about my character. And, you know, I mean, we could go into a rabbit hole about his character. And I just want to make a statement about this case. I look at the justice system here in the United States. It's about winning. It's not about the truth. The U.S. has 4% of the world's population. 20% of the people behind bars on this planet are here in the United States or on probation. Why? Maybe sham trials. And I think this was definitely a sham trial called Making a Murderer here in Waukesha. It was definitely a pseudo-sham trial where psychopaths in suits fabricated extreme circumstantial events and turned them into their wild imagination. No wonder why they get away with manufacturing charges. The public and jury believe these lies and story. Missing in this whirlwind of hysterical hyperbole was I was seen with 3 little green men hovering above the woods in a dish-shaped object going down in a beam of light. The good old boys, for some reason, didn't focus on the truth that the scalpel found in the woods was most likely used by Stephanie's own hand, and then possibly a seizure, because I was never in the woods. The dog and truck was prejudice against me. It was just blatantly silly, and probably thought out in advance. The detectives tried to alter the suicide note right here in court, right before the court's eyes. Crazy enough, Stephanie's heroin and drug charges back in 2013, the same DA's office wanted Stephanie in prison for a long time or institutionalized and considered her dangerous. Maybe if these so-called professionals did their job, we wouldn't be here. How deep does this rabbit hole go? Well, maybe one day on review for this huge blunder, these people here better have the right answers, because I am the only victim here. I'm the one being murdered by the new Gestapo. All the testimony showed no smoking gun, except the police think or thought I did something. This is prosecution, not justice, by a tyrannical fascist dictator government here in Waukesha. Coming to my house with a tank and then wondering why I couldn't remember accurate details about the purse and phone. It's amazing I can remember anything. Yes, I did exhibit some odd, maybe strange paranoid behavior by not calling the police. But if you look at my past cases fabricated against me, where I told the truth and I was still charged. Also, Stephanie was involved in some of that fabrication too. This took years off my life fighting. Opper and the Klan know what I mean. The mark on Layla's butt, alleged that was never there. Punching a man, breaking a window. I was never there at the time. Just like this case, I was never in the woods. This is just a pattern of abuse of power in the DA's office. Statements I was accused of saying, I am in trouble, I will be ready for police, and many more, came from Opper's delusional mind. Detectives making Layla believe she will get money if I am convicted was a sick tactic. She will hopefully one day see the truth. And before this incident happened, I can honestly say she was never there for her mother. I mean, if you see the text messages, she sent a lot of nasty messages to her mother. And I'm ashamed that she's my daughter and part of the Pavlons clan. I'd like to say more on that, but not now. Stephanie and I had some fights, as in any relationship, but never to the level of murder. Texts about alleged violence were over-exaggerated. She used to tell me all the time, and my family, that her father used to beat her. Is it true? I don't know. I do know that drug addicts will say anything to get sympathy and attention. When I first met Stephanie, I helped her get off drugs, drinking. I got her a job, a car, I got her license back, and out of a gang in Milwaukee. Her mother knows how she broke her wrist. Off drugs and alcohol, Stephanie was a kind, giving, and loving woman. We were separated since 2012, but we still loved each other and would have taken a bullet for each other. She would never have wanted me in this situation. I love and miss the drug-free, hype-free side of Stephanie. However, I became tired of her problems and addiction. Her constantly taking off, hiding with her medications, all the erratic behavior she exhibited. I was supposed to bring her home on the 23rd, but the truth is she did not want to go because she hated her parents. I wish I could have skipped my appointment at OPA and figured out some way how I could have helped her more. And I believe the parents knew that she was going to die. That's one of the first things that the mother said, that she was feeling that her daughter was going to die, either suicide or an OD. I am one of the innocent people in jail from a sham trial. You know, maybe I'll be on wrongful conviction someday, I don't know. But I would, again, like I said in my statement to the detectives, I would rather stand with God and be judged by the people than stand with the people and be judged by God. That's it.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Galaviz, anything else?
No, sir, thank you.
Okay. All right, so when I sentence an individual, and whether it be for, a drunken driving, a lower level offense, a retail theft, or as in this case, first-degree intentional homicide in the charge in count 2, hiding a corpse, there's certain criteria that every court is supposed to look at, and which I do look at and consider. I abbreviate them by indicating that I look at the impact on the community, the criminal, the individual, Mr. Pahl himself, and the nature of the offense. And I'm going to talk about those things as we move forward, and I'm going to talk about some of the other aspects of this trial, the individual aspects of this trial that came into play. And I'm also going to take into consideration the statements made by the victims, Layla Pavlons, the statements made by the state, the statements made by defense counsel, and Mr. Pahl, of course, himself. Those are all things that I consider. So let's talk about first what the community impact is. And first, we have to frame what these offenses are. The legislature has indicated that in count 1, this court is required to impose a term of life imprisonment. And then pursuant to 973.014 of the Wisconsin statutes, I can make a determination about the availability of extended supervision or the eligibility for extended supervision. And that's something that the court takes into consideration today as well. I also look at the nature of the second count. It has as a potential penalty 12 and a half years of imprisonment, meaning 7.5 years initial confinement, 5 years of extended supervision. That is the potential. And the court can make a determination as to whether the sentences can be consecutive or concurrent as well. So there are things that I need to consider here. And there are certain factors that I have to look at in making those considerations in terms of how I'm going to structure a sentence or sentences in this case. Let's go back to the community issues. First of all, when I talk about community, what I mean to say is both the community as a whole, Waukesha County, the city of Waukesha, the people in and around this area. I also look at the Pavlons family members. I know that the parents have been here, and I know that Layla Pavlons has been here, and their testimony was part and parcel, or not necessarily their testimony, but their presence in the case was part and parcel of what occurred here. And I look at the statement made by Layla Pavlons, because it pertains to both her mother, the victim, and her father, the convicted defendant in this case. And so what she has had to say to me and her wishes are important to the court. Let's take a look first at the community as a whole. And I think when I do that, the way I have to frame that is looking at what was said and what was proved and what was determined during the course of the trial, and how that impacts the community first as a whole. Now, granted, we understand that the death of Stephanie Pavlons has a profound effect on her parents and her daughter as well. And whatever the relationship they had, and whether it was antagonistic at times, whether it was loving at times, or whether it was a combination of those things, the parents lost a daughter, the daughter lost a mother. And it apparently has a profound impact on them. But again, let's take a look at the community. What I see in this case is domestic violence. And what I see in this case is an individual, Mr. Pahl, who did what he could to exhibit or to exert power and control over Stephanie Pavlons over the years, over the decades perhaps. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. And so I'm very cognizant of the fact that when I sentence Mr. Pahl as an individual, that I'm sentencing Mr. Pahl as an example of a domestic abuser, right? And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we move forward. And so when I sentence him, I'm making a statement to Layla Pavlons, to Stephanie's parents, and I'm making a statement to the community as a whole as well. Let's look at Mr. Pahl and his criminal history, and let's look at Mr. Pahl as an individual. Now, although I didn't hear much about his pro-social activities that he may have been engaging in, whether he was working, whether he was contributing to the community in some way, there may have been that. But what I heard about mostly is today a history of criminal behavior. And what's important to me, and I want to be really very, very clear here, reference was made to this 1993 investigation into a first-degree intentional homicide. I am not considering that as a factor in terms of sentencing today. I can, and I would if I knew more about it, and if I had more information. And again, I know that in the motions prior to the trial, that issue was raised, but I never felt that I had a familiarity with it to make any consideration, and I do not consider it at the time of sentencing today. But what I do consider is prior correctional experience, right? I know that there was a conviction in 1989, there was a apparent misdemeanor conviction in 2005, and there was a prison term and then in and out for violations. That's what I was advised by the state today. So that says something to me. There's a history of criminal convictions, there's a history of behavior while under the supervision of the Department of Corrections that was not optimal, to say the least, right? Let's look at Mr. Pahl's support. I don't have any support. I don't have any family members. I know someone was here for him during the course of the trial, but I don't know of anybody who's going to say, you know, if Mr. Pahl comes back to the community, we're going to make sure that, you know, we're going to support him. We're going to make sure that he stays out of trouble. I don't have that. And so I have a lack of information about his ability to reintegrate into the community and be a productive member of the community. Now, let's take a look at the crime. And when I say let's take a look at the crime, or crimes I should say, there's a couple different levels that I look at. First of all, I look at the law, the black and white about the crimes. We have first-degree intentional homicide, which requires, which mandates a life sentence. The law says, the legislature said, this is what you have to order. The legislature also said that pursuant to 973.014, the court may or could exercise its discretion and provide for an opportunity or eligibility for extended supervision after a minimum of 20 years in terms of initial confinement. So there's that. That's what the legislature told me. They said, this is a serious offense. It merits, Judge, you don't have a choice. You have to impose a life sentence, but you can find somebody eligible for extended supervision at some time after 20 years. That's a possibility. We look at count 2, and again, I indicated 12 and a half years imprisonment, 7.5 initial confinement, 5 years extended supervision, and I have the option of ordering that be consecutive or concurrent as well. So that's the framework. That's what the legislature said. These are serious criminal charges and offenses. And then I also look at the crime in and of itself. So what happened here? Right? Mr. Pahl and Ms. Pavlons had a long, decades-long, tumultuous relationship. It was a relationship that certainly had some bright spots. Mr. Pahl said that himself today. But this relationship that was perceived by this court in the course of trial and by the jurors, or perhaps, as one that where Mr. Pahl exerted financial control over Ms. Pavlons, where Mr. Pahl exerted emotional control over Ms. Pavlons, where Mr. Pahl exerted control over Ms. Pavlons' medication, where he exerted abusive and violent physical control over Ms. Pavlons. And again, we have those diaries from 2020 and 2021 that made reference to those beatings. I can't characterize them as anything else other than beatings that he administered to her to, perhaps in his mind, correct her behavior, to control her, to do, in his mind, what was the right thing for her or him. So he exerted that control. And again, I think as Ms. Gordon said, and I strenuously object to the term that it was puke from Ms. Gordon's mouth, because it is classic examples of domestic violence. Power and control. Financial control, emotional control, physical control. That's what we're talking about, right? So that's the kind of life that Stephanie Pavlons lived. All these behaviors are consistent with classic examples of power and control and domestic violence visited by the defendant on Stephanie Pavlons. And sadly and tragically, when she decided to terminate the relationship, and I make reference to the note in the trunk, and again, the suggestion that evidence was created or manufactured or altered is, in this court's estimation, pure nonsense, except as it pertains to Mr. Pahl, who attempted to refashion, who attempted to create, who attempted to alter evidence to throw suspicion away from him. That's who is responsible for manufacturing or creating or altering evidence. So that note was important because it is a contemporaneous note, as we can understand it from the facts in this case, where Ms. Pavlons said, I've had enough of this. I'm finished with this. I'm done with this. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm sick of it all. Here's how you get access to the money. Here's the PIN number. Here's how you get access to such and such account. This was her attempt to leave This was her attempt to exert her independence from Mr. Pahl. And this resulted in his exerting the ultimate control. You don't leave. You don't have the choice, Ms. Pavlons. And whether or not he was going to go to the Philippines to live with other women, he couldn't. In his arrogance and his ego, have someone else tell him it's over. And so he killed her. And the cause and the manner, perhaps unknown exactly, but he killed her. That's what the jury said. So I look at these things and I think to myself, what am I going to do with somebody who does these things, right? Let's talk a little bit more about the offense. Let's talk about count number 2, right? Now, it would be absurd to think that, Mr. Pahl was going to turn himself into authorities and say, I killed her, come and collect her body so it doesn't rot in the woods. But that's what he didn't do, right? Of course he did. He killed her and he left her to rot in the woods as if she was roadkill. And the condition of her body, the debasement of her by leaving her to rot in the woods added insult upon injury, literally and figuratively. So, what's happened now? And I want to say something. I want to read. We talk about circumstantial evidence, right? And this case was a circumstantial case. Let me read this instruction again. It says, and it defines circumstantial evidence according to Wisconsin law. It says, it is not necessary that every fact be proved directly by a witness or an exhibit. A fact may be proved indirectly by circumstantial evidence. Circumstantial evidence is evidence from which a jury may logically find other facts according to common knowledge and experience. Circumstantial evidence is not necessarily better or worse than direct evidence. Either type of evidence can prove a fact. Whether evidence is direct or circumstantial, it must satisfy you beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant committed the offense before you may find the defendant guilty. So what happened in this case? The state presented its case. Ms. Opper, in her opening, said to the jury, have patience. It's going to take a long time. We're going to put the pieces together. You're going to see what happened here. You're going to be able to find Mr. Pahl guilty of these 2 counts, first-degree intentional homicide and hiding a corpse. And lo and behold, that's what happened. The jury has spoken. The jury has spoken clearly and, quite honestly, rather succinctly. In a case based on circumstantial evidence. And I'm going to tell you, Mr. Pahl, that this jury deliberated for less than 1 hour. They walked out of here at 3:20. We keep track of this. And at 4:20, I was told that they had a verdict. The jury deliberated for less than 1 hour and found you guilty on both counts. And when I say succinctly, what I'm saying that they did it in very quick fashion, without hesitation. And I will tell you this, in my 40-plus years of legal experience, to my recollection, this is the fastest verdict on a first-degree intentional homicide that I can recall. So, It wasn't like, hey, maybe Paul did it, maybe Mr. Paul didn't do it. What do you think, or what do you think? I don't know. They came back in less than an hour, and they spoke to me, to the state, to you, to the community. Mr. Paul is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt to these offenses. Now, again, your position is that you are not guilty. That is your right, and that is, guarded by the Constitution of the United States, and that's fine. I have no qualms with your claim of innocence, not at all. But what I do have concern about is you're characterizing this as a sham trial, manufactured charges. You make light of the system. You believe that the state created evidence, that you're the only victim here, that this is a fascist dictator government, and Opper and her clan know what you mean, and Opper's got a delusional mind. Mr. Paul, I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist, but the things that I see about you, you're the center of the universe. The universe revolves around you. Everybody's wrong. You're the only one that's right. You shake your head in the negative as I say this to you, and that's okay. That's your right to do that. But, sir, what you have exhibited to me demonstrates to me what I consider, and again, I'm not a shrink, this is what I consider to be narcissistic behavior. How can anyone not believe that I'm innocent? How is it that everybody gets it wrong, and I'm the only one that gets it right? And what's important about that is that those characteristics, your personality tells me what I have to do. It tells me loud and clear. The jury told me loud and clear in less than an hour. And your statements and your behavior and your attitude tells me loud and clear, as we sit here today, what is the appropriate thing for me to do. And so here's what I perceive. My purpose in imposing a sentence in this case is to incapacitate Matthew Pahl, to prevent him from taking advantage of somebody like Stephanie Pavlons in the future, of hurting her mentally, emotionally, physically, of punching her, kicking her. I mean, her life, she spent her life being berated, bullied, belittled, and beaten by you. And I'm not going to allow that to happen again. It's not going to happen. So what I have to do is incapacitate you and incarcerate you for the maximum amount of time appropriate. And what I also have to do is send a message to the community, the Pavlons family, and the community as a whole, as it pertains to domestic abusers who kill their partners, that we have to incapacitate those people. And in light of that, as to count number 1, I'll impose a sentence of life imprisonment without any eligibility for release to extended supervision. As to count 2, I'm going to impose a term of imprisonment of 12 and a half years with 7.5 years initial confinement and 5 years of extended supervision consecutive to the term of life. I'll require that as a condition of your sentence and prison term that you pay restitution in the amount of $8,309 to the Pavlons family for funeral expenses. And although this is a hollow requirement, as a condition of extended supervision, you're not to have any contact with the Pavlons family. I've already indicated the amount of credit that is due and owing. Is there anything you think I've overlooked or omitted from the state's perspective, Ms. Gordon?
No, Judge.
Mr. Galaviz, anything?
You're agreeing to this?
All right. You have 20 days to appeal this decision. If you wish to do so, consult with your attorney. He'll assist you in that regard. Mr. Galaviz, anything?
I'm not sure. I don't think Mr. Paul's agreeing to the restitution for what it's worth. And other than that, I have nothing further.
I agree that he indicates that he is, because he believes that he's innocent, that he believes that he shouldn't pay that. But in terms of setting a restitution hearing, I'll need you to advise the court and the state in writing as to whether he believes that amount is inappropriate. I understand he doesn't want to take responsibility for that. I guess that would be the case. So let's set a restitution hearing, all right, in 60 days. And
Judge, I don't think he's disagreeing on the amount. He's stating what you first indicated, that he's innocent, so he shouldn't pay it.
okay, so that he's not asking for a restitution hearing.
Correct.
All right, then I'll set restitution at that amount, $8,309.
Thank you.
And I've given him his approval rights. I believe that's it.
Correct.
Thank you very much, everybody. Good luck.
And there goes Matthew Pahl, sentenced to life without parole, and then also 12 and a half years, I should say. Yeah, that was spicy. That one was definitely spicy. It's been a while since I don't know if I've ever seen one that spicy. I don't think I've ever seen one that spicy. So let's see. Do I still have him up here? No, I thought I might have him up here. I don't have him up here. Well, here, let me see. Let me pull up Stephanie. We can talk about it one more time. Quickly go over there. There was a lot of shorts in there. There was a lot of content in there, that's for sure. Wow. Judge lit into him, that's for sure. All right, Stephanie. So right out of the gates, there was like pause, and then the defense is like, Mr. Pahl doesn't know what he wants to do with the PSI, which is the pre-sentencing investigation, which means both sides look at, one side looks at the mitigating factors, one side looks at the aggravating factors, and they said he didn't know what he wants to do with that. So then the state goes through, and we went through his priors, so I'll go through these again. 1989, 3 counts for substance, distributing substances. 2005, resisting arrest. Physical assault, if you will, on a child, Layla. Stephanie, too, she got that as well. 2012, again, controlled substances. 1993, first-degree intentional homicide in Milwaukee, but was never charged. He talks about all these. Matthew Pahl talks about all these. He was a prime suspect then. Then the state talks about Tanya Bean. So Tanya Bean had a problem with substances, and it was her dealer. It was her dealer that was taken out, and he was the prime suspect. He has a history of DV. She asked for them running consecutive, and then there's this 8,390, but I think it actually ended up being 8,309. All right, 8,309 that they asked for restitution. Then the defense comes back. Mr. Galaviz is like saying, well, it didn't make sense to him about never testing the purse. He thinks that's going to be an appellate issue. The DA didn't have probable cause. And then Matthew Pahl speaks. Mr. Matthew Pahl speaks. He wants to correct some of the puke coming out of Gordon's mouth. Jesus. I mean, he just comes in with like swamp. God. Dude. He was never charged with possession in 2012. Maybe, I don't know. Is he right? The 1993 report, he said, had many suspects in there. Who am I to say? Who am I to say that he sounded like he was strong in his convictions? It sounded like he believed in this. I don't know. Who might have said that? But wow. Okay, he wasn't given a chance to be a parent. I think after Layla was 9 or before she was 9. I forget which. Maybe after. The doctor was over-prescribing Layla, so that's why he lost his license. Again, I can't refute this. I have no idea. He sounded like he believed all this. He says we can go down a rabbit hole with his character. Okay. He says the justice system is about winning and not the truth. Yeah, yeah. You could argue. There are some people that will argue that for sure. He does mention Stephen Avery. He does mention Stephen Avery. He talks about sham trials. The U.S. has 4% of the world's population, and 20% of its population are in prison. All right. Then he talks about 3 little green men hovering over him, and he talks about the scalpel was used by Stephanie's own hand. He talks about the dog. That was blatantly silly. He says, I'm being blamed by the new Gestapo. He said there was no smoking gun. Tyrannical fascist dictator. Not a justice system. Wow. This is taking years off my life, and Opper and the Klan know what I mean. My gob is smacked. I'm just like, wow. Hey, if you're gonna let it fly, right? Why not? He goes on, talks about Opper's delusional mind. He's ashamed that Layla is his daughter. Wow. She sent a lot of nasty texts to Stephanie. I guess that's why he called her niece, or he called Layla his niece when he was talking to the women in the Philippines, right? He told him over and over her father used to beat her. Oh, she told him over and over again that her dad used to beat her. Maybe, I don't know. He helped Steph get off drugs and out of a gang in Milwaukee. Again, I can't refute any of this. I don't know. Her mother knows how Steph broke her wrist. He looked back at Georgianne for that. We still loved each other, would have taken a bullet for each other. All right. He became tired of her and her addictions. He was supposed to bring her home that day. This is interesting. He was supposed to bring her home that day, meaning I guess to the parents' house. So he was supposed to take her to her parents' house, but she didn't want to see her parents? That's a new one, right? We didn't know that. Well, because he didn't take the stand. Parents knew she was going to die. Let's see. The innocent in jail. Okay, he talks about a sham trial again. He'd rather stand with God and be judged by the people rather than stand with the people and be judged by God. So he doesn't want to be judged by God. No, wait. No, he wants to stand with God and be judged by the people. Okay. Rather than stand with the people and be judged by God. All right. Then the judge comes in. Judge Ramirez comes in. What did you guys think of that before I get to Judge Ramirez? Camilla, so he was returning her, I guess. Well, she did spend a lot of time with her parents. We got that. She did spend a lot of time with the parents. So I guess maybe. I don't know. What do you guys think? Linda, all that is crazy. Misconduct, stand-up guy. Psychosaurus Rex, he's ashamed, but then 3 minutes before that, he was saying he never got a chance to be a parent. So which is it? Do you want more time to be a parent, or are you ashamed of your child? Right? Armada, yeah, my jaw dropped when he spoke on Layla. I was not expecting that one. Ed, maybe he will have a roommate named Yep, perhaps. Missy God will most likely say hard pass. Armada, well, we shall grant your wish. Sharon, that was twisted and backwards. Sally, do we believe anything he says? I don't know. I can't refute it. Let me just put it that way. I can't say, oh, well, no, that's not right. So do I believe him? No. Do I not believe him? No. I'm gonna declare Switzerland at this point because I don't know. I can't speak one way or the other. Mary Fitz, why would we believe him now? Yeah, fair point. Fair point. All right, let's see what else. Queen Olive says, that didn't make sense to me. So who does he want to be judged by? It seems like he wants to be, he would rather stand with God and then be judged by the people. then he doesn't want to be judged by God. So he'd rather be judged by the people, but he'd be standing with God. So I guess God will protect him because he feels that that's the best, that's the right thing for him in his mind, I guess. That's what he's thinking. He'd rather stand next to God than stand with the people. So, all right, Joanne, have a good one. Have a good one. Thank you for being with us today. Yeah, I'm gonna go Switzerland. I'm going neutral on that one. Boy, on Crime JMS, yes, I'm gonna plead Switzerland on that one because I can't. I don't know what's in his mind. I don't know what he's going through. I mean, he's just saying what he's saying. He's speaking his truth, I guess. I don't know. All right, so then let's get to Judge Ramirez, and then we'll call it a night. All right, let's see here. He talks about the community impact. And Judge Ramirez, I'm telling you, we've been watching a lot of trials out of Florida, and I love Florida judges. But I got to say, Ramirez and Highland, right? Highland was the Chaz Alderson, and Judge Ramirez now is Matthew Pahl. Two great. Oh, and then Judge Doro. Can't forget Judge Doro. Three great judges out of Wisconsin. So kudos to Wisconsin for pulling in some great judges as well. All right, Judge Ramirez, community impact. He talks about that statement by Layla. What was said and what was proved over trial. He sees the domestic. He sees the DV. Paul did what he could to exert power and control over Stephanie. He considers prior correctional experience. I had to write that one down because I'm like, that's a really nice way to say prior jail time, the prior prison time, the time that you prior correctional experience. I love it when somebody just puts you down and rips into you, but does it in such a way that it's like, I'm going to put a ring on that finger, but I'm also just going to completely just annihilate you. And that's what, Judge Ramirez took him out to dinner and then just like sliced him up. All right, again, at least in my mind, that's my opinion. Prior correctional experience. Said, dude, you spent a lot of time in jail. All right, support. Yeah, where's your support? Where's your family? Where's your friends? We heard all about your father. Your dad was all over this trial. Trying to help you afterwards. Where is your dad now? Where's your dad now? That's a big question I have. Where's your judge? Where's your dad now? Why didn't he come up and stand next to his son and say, hey, you know what, Judge? Yeah, he's had a hard life, blah, but, he doesn't deserve to spend his life in jail. I don't know. All right. Then he talks about the beatings he administered to Stephanie to correct her. And all I thought of was The Shining, when he's like, to correct her. That's all I thought when he says to correct her behavior. Oof. Then he talks about the puke coming from Miss Gordon's mouth. He's like, that is a classic example of physical, emotional, and mental control. He says, I do take offense to the suggestion that the evidence was created or manufactured and altered. That's pure nonsense, except as it pertains to you, Mr. Pahl. You are the one that attempted to create and alter evidence to throw suspicion away from you. What am I going to do with someone like this? So when you hear that coming out of a judge's mouth, that's generally you're not in a position of power. You're not in a position of control, and you're definitely about to get So when a judge says, what am I going to do with someone like this? And then I didn't hear it, but you guys heard it. Paul, I guess, whispered they were wrong. I missed that. So I have it down in my notes, but you guys heard that he whispered they got it wrong, or they were wrong. I guess talking about the jury. The jury gave the verdict in very fast fashion. It was the fastest verdict he can recall in his 40 years. I have it like an hour and 15 minutes. He said it was under an hour, less than an hour. So I'll go with what Judge says. He has no qualms with Mr. Pahl making claims of innocence. That's his right? That's your right. It's a free country. Speak your mind. That's your right. But I do have concerns of you calling this a sham trial, manufactured evidence, calling people fascist, or the fascist government saying Opper and her clan. He says, you're the center of the universe. Everyone is wrong and you are right. And then he says, even now you're shaking your head in the negative as I say this to you. He says, this is narcissistic behavior. Even though I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a psychiatrist, this is narcissistic behavior. How does everyone get it wrong and I'm the only one that gets it right? Meaning you, Mr. Pahl. The jury is telling me loud and clear, and your actions and statements are telling me too. My job is to incapacitate Matthew Pahl so he doesn't do this to someone in the future. Again, just beautiful words. My job is to incapacitate Mr. Pahl. Stephanie lived her life being bullied, belittled, and beaten by you. So then he puts down his judgment of count 1, life without parole, but he said it more eloquently, and I didn't catch it all, but basically life without parole. Count 2, 12 and a half years, and then 7.5 years initial confinement, but it's consecutive with count 1. So he's getting life without parole plus 12. So then the funeral expenses, $8,309 for funeral expenses. You have 20 days to appeal. Restitution hearing in 60 days, but then the defense, Galaviz, says, well, he's not saying you shouldn't pay it. He's not saying he doesn't disagree with you to pay it. He's just saying that you were saying he was innocent or something like that. Yeah, I'm not sure. Anyway. All right. Eloquently said, Jenny G. Yeah, Judge Ramirez, he was good. Hey, maybe we'll get another one. With out of Wisconsin, where we see Mr. Ramirez. Okay. Yep, my bad. Okay, Matthew Pahl is not 29. He's 45. That's my bad. Aaron just pointed that out. So I take that down. All right, so he's 45. So he is not that. So Kathy, the audacity to talk to court that way. Well, he doesn't care. Clearly, he doesn't care. Denny Dawn, we have not heard the last from him. He will be like Sarah Boone and Brooks, trying to get their convictions overturned. I am sure. 29 is Devier. Yeah, you can, right? I probably picked that up from, is that what I had? Yeah, that was probably the Devier. Yeah. Paul, the only narcissists in my house are my cats. That's a good one. Yep, Denny Dawn. Yep, and he will be very vocal about it. Yeah, I think he said he was 45 because didn't Galaviz say that he was 45 because a 35-year sentence would be a death sentence for him, basically. Uncle Google says 57. Oh, I thought it said 45. All right, we'll go with 57. Well, don't I have it in here? Don't I have it in my description? She was 44. Why don't I have it in my description? Huh. Wow, we usually have it in our description. Ah, that stinks. That's one of the first things I don't have it in our description either. Oh well. Stephanie was 44. Yeah, Stephanie for sure was 44. Well, whatever. The dude's old. Let's just go with that. I'll just say he's old. I don't know. Let's see. Widespread, you think he's 57? All right, we'll just go with that. Sure, he's 57. I don't care anymore. I'm throwing my papers. This trial's over with. We're throwing our papers up. All right, you guys. I think that's about it. What else? Melissa, you're getting to a statement? Yeah. Iowa, he was a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad man. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry. I mean, that's a good statement. All I hear is he was a very bad man. He was, yep, he was a very bad man. Line 3, down on your presentation. Line 3. My description? Why don't I have it in our description? Oh, it's in here. Do I have it over here? He was 57. Okay, there you go. Thank you. Thank you, misconduct. All right, so he's 57 and not 29 there. So, hey, we like to throw in, little typos, see if you guys are paying attention. see who wins the internet by catching our typos. Well, my typos. Aaron never makes typos. It's all just me. All right, Camilla, thank you for joining us. Appreciate that. Wait. What was that? Danny Don, if he's in his 40s, what a hard 40 that is. Sharon TH, thank you, guys. Thank you for joining us. Yeah. I'm trying your focus. Yes. You guys win the internet for finding the typos, for the typos that I put in. Yes, misconduct, you passed the test. All right, Sally, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. Appreciate you guys. All right, tomorrow, Devin Michaels, 2:00 start. But we're going to do another Ego Takes the Stand from 9 until 1 or 2. So join us tomorrow at 9. We're going to do another Ego Takes the Stand. And then we're going to pick up new on Devin Michaels. And that starts at 2:00 our time. It's 11 o'clock Pacific time, 2:00 Eastern. So we will give you some content in the morning, and then we'll cover Devin Michaels. We'll pick up on day 5. Is she up to day 5? Yeah, she's up to day 5. So, all right, you guys have a great night. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate you guys. I know you have a lot of options out there in YouTube, and I really appreciate you spending your time with us. It does mean a lot to us. So thank you. Really do appreciate that. It's not lost on us, your love and support for us, and we hope that we give it back to you guys. So thank you for being with us today. Thank you to our mods for doing a fantastic job, as always, and thank you to Aaron for creating all the graphics. I create the incorrect ones. Aaron creates all the perfect ones. I'm the one that creates the typos. So check out the new, the new thumbnail for the Ego Takes the Stand. So we'll be putting that up in the next couple hours. But we're going to do that, and then we'll do Devin Michaels. So that's what's on our docket for tomorrow. So with that, Dwayne, are you still watching? I got to show you some kitties. If you're still watching, Dwayne, you got little cuddling. Oh, their little heads are over there. Their little heads are over there. How cute is that? I wish I could zoom in on that. Right? How cute is that? And Dwayne, as always, I know you always love your Super Ball. Super Ball's over there. Little Super Ball. Give her little scritches. So, sweet little Super Ball. I think that's it. So I'm going to go feed them. And take care of them. All right, you guys. Thanks again for watching. Thank you, mods. Thank you, Aaron. And we will see you guys tomorrow, 9 o'clock, I'm pretty sure, for a new Ego Takes the Stand. And then Devin Michaels starts at 2. So we will see you then. All right. Have a good one.